The Galactic Council's chamber fell silent as Ambassador Vexthar's three eyes dimmed with resignation. His species, the Kalari, had served the Council for 7 centuries. Now in their darkest hour, the galaxy turned its back. "The motion is passed," High Chancellor Mordak announced, his crystalline voice echoing through the hall. "The Kalari homeworld of Kela Prime will not receive Council protection. The swarm's advance is regrettable, but the Council cannot risk fleet assets for a lost cause." Vexithar's mandibles clicked in bitter acknowledgement. 2 billion souls on Kela Prime had 3 weeks before the swarm arrived. 3 weeks before insectoid horrors would consume everything: buildings, forests, people, converting all organic matter into more of themselves. The swarm had already devoured 6 civilizations. No one had ever stopped them. The ambassador gathered his robes and turned to leave, but a voice cut through the chamber. "Wait." Every eye turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Chen Wei stood, her dark eyes blazing with an emotion the Council rarely saw: anger. "With respect, High Chancellor," she said, her voice sharp as a blade, "humanity wishes to formally object to this decision." Mordak's form shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Ambassador Chen, your species joined the Council merely 40 years ago. You lack the experience to understand the tactical realities." "We understand perfectly," Chen interrupted, a breach of protocol so severe that gasps echoed through the chamber. "We understand that you're abandoning allies because it's convenient, because it's safe." "The Kalari are doomed," Councillor Thexrin said from her floating throne. "We would lose ships, soldiers, resources, all for nothing. This is logic, not cruelty." Chen's laugh was bitter. "You want to talk about logic? Let me tell you about humanity's logic." She stepped forward, her security detail tense behind her. 200 years ago, my species nearly destroyed itself in nuclear fire. We had every reason to give up, to accept extinction, but we didn't. We fought. We clawed our way back from the brink because that's what you do when everything is on the line. She turned to Vexthar, whose aged body trembled. "Ambassador, does Kela Prime have any defense fleet?" 12 orbital defense platforms, Vexthar whispered. 37 outdated patrol ships, nothing that can stand against the swarm. And civilian evacuation capabilities? Perhaps 300,000 could escape before the swarm arrives. If we had transport ships, which we don't. Chen nodded slowly, then activated her communicator. "Admiral Martinez, this is Ambassador Chen. Authorization code Omega-7 Red. Deploy the 3rd Fleet to Kela Prime. Full battle readiness. We have 2 weeks to prepare defenses." The chamber erupted in chaos. "You cannot!" Mordak roared. "The Council has not authorized." "The Council doesn't command human military forces," Chen said coldly. "That's in our membership treaty, Article 47, Section 3. We maintained sovereign control of our military for exactly this reason, so we could do the right thing even when the Council won't." Thexerin's voice dripped with condescension. "And what do you hope to achieve, human? You would sacrifice your fleet, your soldiers, for a species you barely know? This is emotional foolishness, not strategy." "Maybe," Chen admitted, "but it's the kind of foolishness that built Earth's civilization. The kind that makes soldiers jump on grenades to save their squad mates. The kind that sends rescue workers into burning buildings. We have a saying, 'No one left behind.' The Kalari are our allies. That means something to us." She turned back to Vexthar. "Ambassador, I need you to listen carefully. I'm going to Kela Prime myself. I'm bringing every human transport ship we can spare, enough to evacuate at least 1 million civilians, and our fleet will hold the line. But you'll die," Vexthar said, his voice breaking. "The swarm cannot be stopped." Chen smiled, and there was something fierce in that expression, something that made the ancient council members suddenly remember that humanity had conquered their own world through countless wars. "Ambassador, do you know what our greatest military strategist once said? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. The swarm has never fought humans before. They've never experienced what happens when you threaten someone we've decided to protect." She turned to address the entire council. "You're right that this might be suicide. You're right that the logical move is to run. But humanity didn't become a spacefaring species by always making the logical choice. We became who we are by standing up when it mattered, by protecting the weak, by refusing to abandon our principles just because the odds are bad." "You're fools," Mordak said quietly. "Probably," Chen agreed. But we're the kind of fools who'll hold the line while you run. The kind of fools who'll prove that courage matters more than calculations. And maybe, just maybe, we're the kind of fools who'll find a way to win. 17 days later, the swarm arrived at Kila Prime to find humanity waiting. The Third Fleet had transformed the system into a killing ground. Mines, railgun platforms, and weapon satellites formed a web of death. Behind them, transport ships ferried millions of Kalari civilians to safety. The battle lasted 6 days. It was brutal, desperate, and by all calculations impossible. But humanity had brought something the swarm had never encountered. Soldiers who fought hardest when defending others. Engineers who worked around the clock to repair ships held together by improvisation and spite. Captains who rammed swarm hive ships when their weapons ran dry. When it was over, half the Third Fleet was gone. 4,000 human soldiers would never return home. But Kila Prime stood. The swarm, for the first time in recorded history, retreated. And throughout the galaxy, civilizations watched the footage and realized something profound. Humanity wasn't the strongest species, or the smartest, or the most advanced. But they were the ones who showed up when everyone else walked away. The Kalari would never forget. Neither would the galaxy. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't calculated in firepower or strategic advantage. Sometimes it's measured in the simple refusal to abandon those who need you most. Sometimes it's just showing up and saying, "Not on our watch."